Thanks, man, for doing this. First of all, I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Yeah,
Um, we've kind of chatted a bit, I suppose, through like DMs and stuff. You're one of those people that I've kind of like have like a small relationship with, and I picture as being one thing, and then when I see you, I'm like, God, that's not what I pictured at all. Because like someone where you never see their face, like you're always
yeah,
behind the camera. And it was the same with like Michael Dalton. When I started
yeah,
talking to him, I had like an image in my head from the voice and from the messages and stuff what people would look like, and then I see the person, I'm like, oh, that's really opposite to what I thought it was going to
yeah,
be.
yeah. I get what you
um
mean.
yeah, it's not an insult, you're a handsome guy.
Oh, that's good.
So you're how far you're in Denmark? Are you, like, you said you flew into Copenhagen when you came home? Are you
I
near
used to live in
Copenhagen?
Copenhagen, but now I live in Aarhus, which is like the second biggest city,
Okay.
like 2.5 hours from Copenhagen. So it's a
And
small
what,
country, like it's 5 hours end to end. So yeah.
it's bigger than us. What made you move from Copenhagen to there?
Well, I'm from here originally, so when work got more and more online and abroad, like at the end of the day, it didn't really matter where I was located.
Mm.
I just wanted to be closer to like my brothers and sisters and mom and dad, and yeah.
And is
And
Copenhagen the outward airport? Like, if you want to go somewhere, do you have
yeah,
to
if
go
you want to
there?
go, especially now with COVID, like the smaller airports don't have as many flights. So,
Mm.
but I presume like flying to London would be once everything's normalized again. I think not once, if it ever is. I think like flying to London, Paris, Madrid, stuff like that would be fairly
Doable.
easy from this side of the country as well.
Oh, that'd be good. Um, what's the coffee scene like in Denmark?
Oh, best in the world, numerous years in a row, I think. So yeah, I'm not kidding. I think they have like different coffee competitions and stuff, and
Yeah.
fairly certain we've won it. A place in Copenhagen has done that several times, so it's really big, and people care a lot about their coffee.
Yeah. Is it
Um,
more of a pour over scene or an espresso scene or both?
uh, like yeah, espresso, americano, flat white,
Yeah.
latte, yeah, that sort of like yeah, that sort of stuff.
And what's the cost of living like in Denmark compared to other places? Like, what's the average price of a coffee?
Depends on where you go. If you go to a proper place, it'd probably be, what do you use, euros?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, five, I guess, five or something. Yeah.
Okay. A bit more,
It,
but not major either, really. Yeah.
no,
Well, I
it's
thought you were going to say like 15 or something.
no. I think no, we're okay in the price range.
Yeah. And something I like hearing from guests then is like a coffee memory. So, something that happened or someone you were with or somewhere you were where coffee was like somewhere on the periphery. I assume working with athletes and media and like long days and long nights, there's probably coffee plays a big part in your day-to-day job, does it?
Yeah, well, I try to drink. I drink a lot of coffee before noon, and after that, like I don't feel like it has any effect. So if I have coffee later on in the day, it'd probably be I love to have an espresso if I go out to dinner and something.
Mm.
But normally I don't drink coffee like after 1 o'clock or something, because I don't really feel like it has any. It doesn't do the trick, and like there's nothing better than the first cup of coffee in the morning.
That's true.
I have a coffee machine. I was actually filming with Andre Houdet, who just took 15,
Oh yeah.
and he had a coffee machine that's like super simple, where you can like load it up the night before, and then basically when you wake up, like stumble out of bed, you just push the button and go shower, and then
Oh, is
um,
it like one of those Wilfa,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to get a bigger one, like the espresso ones, but like I'm too big of a nerd. I know if I get into that, it's going to be too time consuming.
Yeah. I always
And
find you're limited as well. Like, say what you get. Like, okay, look at like Matt Fraser can probably afford to get whatever he wants, and he has loads of time
yeah,
now to do whatever he wants with it. But like for the average person buying like, a Sage machine or a Breville machine,
yeah,
there's only so far you can go with it, and then you're going to be capped. And it's like
yeah.
that's as good as you can get it on this. So if you're going to need to reinvest, and it's like,
Well,
I'm not
what
doing it.
I do, I have a coffee subscription, so I get like new bags of beans, like fresh beans every month.
Cool. Are they
And
all Denmark, like Danish companies?
no. So it's like, well, they import it.
Okay.
They import the coffee.
What's the
So
best
so
one? Best one you've had recently?
I right now I've had a lot of stuff from like what's it called? Central America.
Okay.
Like Costa Rica. I find Costa Rica has some great beans, both for coffee and chocolate.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, really big there.
You should look at I don't know how close is Denmark to Norway? Is it very close or not close at all?
Well, it takes a couple of hours, but it's not too bad.
Yeah, there's a Circular Coffee in Norway. Is probably the best coffee I've ever had.
Yeah.
But it's spelled like Coffea, I think. I don't know if that's how it's spelled in Norwegian or if it's just like a clever.
They have great coffee in Madison. It's like if you like beer and coffee, it's a place to go.
Yeah, I sent like Michael a list of like 5 places I had no names for anywhere. I was just like, there's a place that has a massive dog and the dog is inside, and then I was like, and there's another place that's gray. You know, everything was vague. And he found a couple of them, but
well, we went out to, we weren't working the same team, but we went out to get coffee and breakfast a few times, and so it's a really good scene. But then you go into the arena and it's like this mass-produced coffee and just tastes absolutely terrible. So I won't really drink that. I'd rather go somewhere and get a proper coffee, and then
What were your hours like at the games?
Too many. Not probably.
What time did you start at? Like
7, I think, depending on what we had to do, and then until we were done, and then I was behind the scenes, so I would like follow athletes or go to dinner with them. So I think we're done around 14 hours a day, but once you're there, you don't even think about it. It was such an amazing crew, so I didn't. People ask me, when are you going on vacation, and I'm like, no, I just did. Like, that's my Disneyland. Like, the work hours never bothered me once you're in a good setting with good people, and couldn't ask for anything else.
We'll talk more about that later, but before that, so you started I guess kind of like towards the middle, it's so weird when you're judging time off lockdowns, but like towards the middle of the second wave of COVID, you kicked off your podcast. You started like Fitness for Time. Why did you start? Like, what made you think now is a good time to do it? Or like, was there an inspiration for it, or bored?
I was bored, and then I like to do new things.
Was it strange not using a visual medium when that's been your?
It was just I was listening a lot to podcasts. I bike a lot, so I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, it would just be fun to try. I feel like whenever you venture into something new, you learn a lot. Like you're saying, like the microphones. How does the setup work? How do you upload a podcast? How do you get traction? All that stuff. Like, you learn so much whenever you venture into something new. And that was kind of my idea, just to see what is it like. I had some like specific goals in mind. I wanted to, at one point, be ranked number 1 in fitness in Denmark, which I did. But
I made it to number 3 in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, but the process of learning it was really interesting. Been talking a lot to Brian Friend, who's on the Sevan podcast all the time. He's a good friend of mine. And basically what he told me is, like, Sevan has a guy who does all the bookings and handles everything around it. So Sevan just has to show up.
Matthew,
which is just great. It's still time consuming. But for me, it's and that's why I kind of put it on hiatus right now, because there's just not enough hours. Like, just not enough time to do it when you have a time-consuming job like I do. And I think it's not because I didn't enjoy it. It's just business is I hate to say it, business going too well. So could be worse.
And how did you find the process of doing it? Like, of a lot of the people you interviewed, I guess you had some of them anyway, you had like a strong relationship with already. Like, you go way back with Pat, and you had him on, and same with like Yana, you've had him on.
Yeah.
Is it difficult interviewing like friends, do you think, or does it make it easier?
No, I think if you're, that's also part of it, because I know a lot of stuff, not necessarily secrets, but like, I don't want to throw people under the bus. And I find myself at times having a hard time being a critical journalist, and still maintaining that professional relations. So I want to not attack people in any way, but I want to ask the hard questions. And sometimes it's just not, when I also have to do that in terms of my work, interviewing people behind the scenes, it gets a little bit, there's some blurred lines that I was afraid to cross. Also me working for CrossFit headquarters and then interviewing athletes on my own. It was a line I had to balance, and I didn't necessarily love how I wanted to push a little bit more sometimes, and I didn't feel like I could without being too specific on situations. But the interview process, I feel like, is what I do all the time. Like when filming with athletes, we're always in their face asking questions. So it's more like the same, just like giving them space to talk and making sure to be well prepared about like what are they doing. But yeah, especially knowing people so well can be a little bit of a, maybe you know them too well because you might assume that other people know the same thing that you do. Yeah. And you get to bring in the basis, and that's something I had to learn and still have to learn when I'm filming with athletes, because I forget that not everyone else is a super CrossFit nerd. But the thing is, with filming, I can always fix that in editing and make the scene. In a podcast, it's like a continuous stream, and you can't really go back and elaborate on something once it's out there.
Yeah.
Hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah. So when you started it, are you directly employed by HQ, or are you contracted, like subcontracted?
Well, I work for the company called Hamilton Road Productions. That okay. Is, well, they're in the same building as CrossFit HQ. And they kind of, CrossFit HQ gave Hamilton the order. Yeah. So they do all the shows. They did everything for like all the live streams at the games they did. They're going to do these, we're going to have some episodics coming out, episodes like Miles to Madison. The first one is out, and there's a new one coming in about a week, I think.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's going to be around 10 of them. And we do all these shows every week, Game Central, The Chipper, yeah, all these shows on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you find that. So I work directly for them, but it's still, I still work for CrossFit, like
when you,
in some sense. But yeah, my on my paycheck it says Hamilton Road.
When you started the podcast, then did anybody from CrossFit or from Hamilton Road or whoever say like, be careful now what you do and what you say and how you say it?
No, I think I know enough like what I can and cannot say. I was on a podcast about 6 years ago while I was in Dubai, where I called up Sevan, who was essentially my boss, and asked him, hey, is this cool? Can I talk about, can I go beyond this podcast, and what can I say? What can I say? And Sevan was just cool. Yeah, just let it rip. Like,
I think I watched that like 2 days ago. Was it with like
In a Fight?
Yeah, like an English guy or
Marcus. Yeah, from a gym down there.
He had a lot of energy, that host.
Yeah,
he was a bundle of energy. I was like, okay, I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to watch.
But no, they don't. I think I've been around the block enough times to know what you can and cannot say and when to. Yeah.
Is it frustrating? Like, because obviously then I always think of that, like that originally when I started this, like I didn't have any aspirations for anything. And then at some point I started thinking like, God, wouldn't it be great to be like at an event or, you know, like asked to do something or asked to be involved somehow. And then it was like, God, that'd be like having a seat at the table. And then I kind of started thinking about it, like it's difficult to makes it difficult to maintain your voice or to maintain, like to stay true to what you want to do then, because it's like, oh shit, I don't want to fuck this up. Like, I don't want to say something too out there that you end up kind of, I guess, accidentally being a bit beige, maybe, where it's a bit like, you know, like playing it a bit safe, maybe by accident, I suppose.
Exactly. And if I had Dave Castro or Eric Rose as someone on the podcast, which I haven't, I would be afraid to say something wrong, because they're still my boss. Yeah. And Dave would still be able to just say, kick me off the floor if he gets pissed at you. Which, not to me, but it has happened to other people. But Dave's a good dude, though. He's wildly misunderstood. But yeah, it was just like, sometimes it can be too hard to separate. And I might start it up at one point, but I need to figure out a different setting or be more of a storytelling type thing, and make like the story of CrossFit, but not as in a podcast in that sense. More of a more of like podcasts used to be, like before they were live, so to speak.
Yeah, like the, what do you call them, serial, like those kind of like
exactly. That might be something that that's not in the space.
Yeah, it will be a niche.
That might be an idea.
You mentioned that you listen to podcasts when you're cycling and stuff. What types of podcasts do you listen to?
I actually listen to very few CrossFit podcasts. Like right now, I've so basically my job is to know everything that's going on with the athletes.
Yeah.
But it gets overwhelming. So like once the season is over, I'll unfollow everyone on Instagram, and I don't listen to any podcast or anything. So, but then once we start the season, I do it as a lot of research and kind of get myself back into this. I listen to some Danish ones, obviously. I have like a weekly soccer one, like a roundup for the Danish league.
You're involved somehow with, is it a specific club you're involved with, or just broadcast?
my local club, so just like they're only like 2 miles away. I shoot photos for them whenever it fits, because it's on Sunday, so a lot of the times I'll be traveling there, but I shoot the photos for them on game days.
And you were at a few of the games for the Euros as well, were you?
No, I wasn't shooting. So my cousin is on the Danish national team.
Yeah, but you were at the games though. You were at 2 games, were you?
Yeah, I was at 2 games. So he gave me tickets and flew me out to Azerbaijan to watch the game.
Well, in Baku or somewhere, was it?
That was it. Yeah, in Baku. Yeah, that was
cool.
Wild. That's not for that's not for full disclosure. But yeah.
And what brings you back for, say, a second listen if you listen to a podcast? Is it like, say with the soccer one, is it specific interest to the league that you're following, or is it hosts, or
that's specific interest to the league? I'll sometimes like jump around if there's someone specific on a podcast. Like I will listen to Joe Rogan whenever he has someone on. I'm not going to listen to it all the time, but if he has someone on that I really like, I like the Elon Musk stuff just because I like Elon Musk and he's batshit crazy and brilliant. But I will pick and choose, like leading up to the games, like you had Dave Castro on. I'll listen to that because there's information there, and
a great host.
I listen to. I used to listen a lot to a Mind Muscle Project. They segued away from CrossFit, but they talk a lot about business inside CrossFit, and they have some inside of fitness. I think that's really interesting. But it does change a lot. I listen to an NFL podcast for the team I follow. I listen to some cycling podcasts when the Tour de France is going on with Lance Armstrong. But other than that, it's just like, if one of my friends or someone I know is on a podcast, if Frederick's on a podcast, Andre's on a podcast, I go listen to that. So it's more about
the guest.
Yeah, more about the guest, I would say. And I want to hear that person speak. And at the end of the day, it's also just like time consuming and like to sit down and listen to it. But I do it a lot when I'm like, if I'm out biking, I like to just throw on a podcast and yeah.
Instagram then is so it's a useful tool. It's probably where I've come across most of the media folks that I either now know or I'm friends with, is through them sharing work that they've done, or CrossFit sharing work that they've done, or like different athletes or different, training houses or whatever, sharing different work that was done. Obviously it plays a massive role in, like, I suppose Instagram itself, like, or the way it's used supports like the athletes because it gives them a platform to show what they're doing. It supports like the media staff because it gives them an audience, I guess, or a more consistent audience, rather than just like one documentary coming out once a year. You've got like every day you could put out a post if you want, or a video or a reel or whatever. Is it like, are there difficulties with that as well? Like, are there difficulties with how easily accessible the work that you put out is, or how quickly accessible it is? Like, can there be cons that come with the instant audience that you get with Instagram?
Sure. You have to be aware of what you say. Obviously, the bigger the athlete, the bigger the audience. but I think a lot of people know who the who's sending out the message or whatever it is. Like they know I like to talk a lot of shit, so they know it's always with a glint in my eye. I'm not too serious. But like I know someone like Annie gets so many direct messages, and so many great ones, but there's always going to be a handful of people that's just going to be negative, no matter what you post or what you write. I'm like, why are you following it? Like, go somewhere else. Like it's your prerogative. You can do whatever you want to do, but yeah, you have to be mindful of it. Especially this season that we're going to shoot a documentary for 2021. I've known that for a while. I couldn't stay. It was all like we had a plan on when to stay. Then Dave Castro just goes out and says it on his Instagram, and we're all like holding back, not saying anything. But yeah, you have to be aware of the fact that I might not have that many followers, but people still pay attention to what you say, and you have to know what you can and cannot say.
Yeah. Did you when you were working originally with, say, when Savan was there and you were doing the behind the scenes thing, do you think if you were told then that a large portion of your work would be the platform that would be used would be social media, would be Instagram, would you have been like, oh yeah, that's the logical way for it to go? Or do you think it's taken an unusual turn maybe for media?
I still think YouTube and Netflix and iTunes are bigger, just because of the retention rate and how long people are there. Like, if you sit down and watch something on YouTube, you're there. You have to stay on that app. You can't go to another app unless you pay for YouTube Pro, which means you're going to have a greater focus, basically. Same when you sit down and watch a movie. It's just different than watching something on your phone. So I still think I think there's room for both. I know CrossFit's got a TikTok channel now, and I don't even know what TikTok is. Someone tried to explain it to me during games, but I'm still.
They're small little white mints that come in a box. Yes, they're TikToks.
Yes. That's TikToks. Yeah. But
like, say, for photographs and stuff, like, say, like, you know, like now you've got this platform where I saw earlier on you put up like the edited photos of, you know, like what you call like shit photos that you fixed or whatever. And even like during the games, like I shared your account as one of the good ones to follow because there was these like amazing pictures, just like even just one a day of like, holy shit, like that's a moment that you might not even see if you were there. But like now Instagram gives you that platform to be like, hey, show everyone your stuff like straight away with no gap.
But and I think and I like that. I feel like this year is a really good community at the games. Like a lot of stuff you see, I normally never post stuff of myself because I'm shooting the photos, so I don't have any photos of myself. But there are so many great guys, and we all took photos of each other when we were just like hanging around, and you saw someone doing something.
Yeah.
You shot a photo, and people just being super nice and sending me photos of, hey, I just shot this photo of you, and so it was nice to have some good content to put out.
I just shot this photo of you in your jorts.
Yeah, I think that's my first endorsement deal ever was getting jorts. I got a new pair every day from Born Primitive to wear on the competition floor with Torrin Simpson, who's my fellow shooter. So we color coordinated shirt and jorts every day and fanny packs. So
how did you get started with the CrossFit media? Were you doing media prior to that and doing CrossFit prior to that, and then it just kind of married together? Or
no, so I'm a trained TV editor. That's how I started. I also did a lot of sports, like broadcasts, like the Danish Premier League and Champions League whenever we had a team in the Champions League, which isn't often. But so I was always, that was what I did. I did more like regular TV stuff like Dancing with the Stars, MasterChef, X Factor, any show you see on
I
Sky.
saw recently you put up a thing. Oh fuck, I can't remember the two names you said, but you said that you interviewed and you put in two names, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
I said it was a Brentford Koski post, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So I said it was the best interview I've ever seen, and I've interviewed both Wolverine and Black Widow.
Was that for TV work?
And Hugh Jackman.
Was that for like work that you were doing for TV at the time?
So I was living in Stockholm in Sweden, and I was working for I was working for a film festival, and I was basically just like shooting, and then I was with a journalist, and I was in this room where I did all the interviews with the big stars coming in, and I set up the whole interview, and then I just stood there and pressed record, and I wasn't really paying attention. Then there's this guy, and then there was this guy coming in. All of a sudden, Scarlett Johansson walks in. I'm like, my world just stops. Like, I'm ready to run away with her. And I'm like, this is the craziest day of my life. 5 minutes later, Hugh Jackman walks in. And this was
and you were ready to run away with him.
It's just done Wolverine. I'm like, wow. So that's how I met them, so to speak.
And then had you been doing CrossFit and a job opened up with HQ?
Well, so I started doing CrossFit I've always been doing like endurance sports, but I started doing CrossFit because I never liked to go to the gym or like strength training. But I saw one of a friend of mine posting photos and looked cool, back in late 2011. So I joined the local gym. And then I heard about this thing called the Open. I signed up. I did 7 minutes of burpees. Fuck that. And then
it's actually, do you know what? It's ridiculous how many people must have started CrossFit that year. Because you're about the 10th guest I've had on that said that.
Jump in signups ever from 11 to 12. So then regionals was in Copenhagen. And I'm like, well, that could be fun. And I looked at it, and they already booked the whole team. So I was like, well, I don't care. I'm just going to volunteer then. And my wife at the time was like, you're not going to volunteer. You're a fully professional camera operator and editor. You're not going to work for free. I'm like, well, I'm going anyway. Like, I might as well do it. And that, and you can ask Tyson Oldroyd about this. This is hands down the best decision I made in my life, because that weekend changed my life. So I then there at regionals in 2012, I met Tyson Oldroyd, I met Tony Budding, met Dave Castro. They didn't fly me out to the games that year, but they flew me to London in October for the first ever invitationals, which was Europe versus Team USA.
Yeah.
And then that's just kind of how I got started. And then I think Tyson threw me a few videos I had to do. It was, these old videos called workout of the day videos.
Okay.
Where it's basically the video, and someone in some gym just present the video, and there's a lot of fun ones out there. And then I did a few games profiles, and then I shot the stuff in London, and then it just kind of grew from there. Got more and more responsibility, and this year was by far the year where I had the most responsibility, and having to work side by side with Mariah Moore on the documentary. Is her project, but this weekend we working side by side and being behind the scenes with the athletes. It's going in the right direction. There was a slight bump in 2019, but I think it's
a small massive bump.
Yeah.
And
that were good.
When you were doing it, were you like part of Savan's support crew kind of? So he was the main person behind the scenes, we'll say, and then you guys, like you and Dalton and a few others, had to like do pickup shots and extra.
Are you talking about the games?
Yeah.
No, so at the games, I think to be fair, and you'll never get them to admit it, but they didn't need me at the games in 13, 14, 15. Tyson Oldroyd is the nicest guy in the world, and he always flew me out, but they didn't need me. They could just hire some American, but he wanted to invest in me and make sure that I felt like the company was investing in me. So I did a lot of the first couple of years. I did a lot of the stuff that goes on CBS or ESPN, or where we were. Like it could be filming an interview with the CEO of Rain, or some non-competition stuff. And then in 16, I started doing some of the team stuff. I did a piece on Mal O'Brien in I think 17. Where I said this girl could win the CrossFit Games one day, and everyone's like, whatever. I'm telling you, she's going to be really good. No one's ever heard of her. And then, I guess it still remains to be seen, but I think I'm right in that account.
Well, people have heard of her now anyway.
Yeah. But no, then in I think it was in 17, Tyson let me do the behind the scenes in Europe. That kind of the same what Sevan's been doing. So he makes the highlight footage with behind the scenes stuff, and I shot that in Madrid. And Sevan was kind of like, he oversaw the edit. He wasn't there. I think that was the biggest gig I've gotten so far. I think it's still on CrossFit Journal and it's free. Yeah, behind the scenes, the story of Meridian, I think, from Sevan. I know it's a crazy year because the way it played out, like Frederick Egidius beat Lucas Hochberg by 1 point, making it back to the CrossFit Games after failing in 14, 15, 16. So that's a good one. People should go watch that one.
And is it, so obviously Sevan was like synonymous with that. That was his thing. So then when you're doing something and you know that the person who more or less invented it in our ecosystem is going to be looking over it afterwards, do you feel like pressure with that to tell a similar story, or to tell a story in a similar way that's been done before? Or do you feel like, fuck it, I'll just do my own thing and see what they think?
Well, I grew up on watching Sevan's videos, so I think there will always be some sort of like the way he did it. Yeah. But I'm still me, and I'm still my own person. Yeah, I think I took the best of what I felt like he did, what would work for me, and then added my own twist. And mine has always been, I know my data, I know the athletes, I know everything that's going on, I know their strengths and weaknesses, and I'm not afraid to ask the personal questions. That's always been, Annie Thor's daughter hates me for this because I always make her cry. The games was not an exception. But yeah, I think you have to, if you try to copy someone else, you can only become a copy of someone else. And that goes through everything in life. And you could say the same. Well, remember when Jason Khalipa tried to beat Rich Froning? And he's like, what's Rich doing? Well, if you want to do what Rich is doing, you're never going to be as good as Rich. You're only going to be a weak copy of him. Yeah. And it's the same. There's the story with Phil Mickelson and some guy who's just upset with what Phil Mickelson was doing in golf, and he never got to his level because he wasn't playing his own game. He was just trying to copy someone else. So I think you have to be your own person, but it also comes with the experience and comes with the being more. The more developed you are as a person, and the more you grow, you kind of, you get more comfortable in these situations. Because being behind the scenes and asking Vellner after he comes off an event, like, yeah, dude, you just lost the CrossFit Games right there. He doesn't want to talk about that, but I have to talk to him about that. Chandler Smith, I sat with him for 20 minutes after he got cut by a few points. He got 21st. And he's out. But if you can figure out a way to be respectful in that sense and not overstep their boundaries, I think it's good. It's a funny story from this year. I went to shoot with Brent Fikowski at his Airbnb in Madison. And I'd just been, GoWatt had just given me a t-shirt, the Matt Fraser t-shirt, Hard Work Pays Off. And I didn't have any clean clothes, so I just put that one on. Goes into Brent's house and his coach in there, and Brent looks at me and says, I'm not going to do the interview with that shirt on. I'm like, wait, what? Take it off. I'm sitting there shirtless. Takes my shirt off, and his coach comes over and throws a Fikowski shirt in my face and makes me put it on before they're willing to do any interviews.
That's funny.
But you have to like know the situation and know what you can and cannot do, and yeah, I guess it comes with the territory, and the athletes, if you respect them and you know the boundaries, they're gonna give more of themselves.
Obviously, you have a relationship with a lot of them that like you've built up and maintained over time. But then does it get like, because people are drastically different in a high intensity competitive environment than they are on a sunny Saturday afternoon, like on a video chat with you or whatever. So like, do you find that you have to, was it a learning curve at the start to be like asking questions? You'd be like, oh, okay, we're not in that zone now where I can just ask you whatever I want. I need to like tiptoe around it for a little while first.
Yeah, I think it was a learning curve, but I also got lucky in some sense because I'm good friends with Annie Thor's daughter, and that was kind of my way in. So that made it a lot easier. and then I shot a bunch with Rich Froning, and he's never phased. Like he's always, like he's the nicest guy in the world, but I think it also just comes being a mature person, and you kind of see people for who they are and where they are in their life. But there's been times where, like, in 2000, when was this? 2018, 17, Janikowski was not doing well, and I walked up to him, and he just looks at me, fuck off. And I just kept on walking. But 10 minutes later, we're good to go. I'm not even sure if Yannick can remember this, but there's no hard feelings. Like it is what it is, and they know, like, I'm just doing my job, and I always want to portray them best possible. And I think that's really important. Like, we want to highlight the athletes, make them superstars, tell their stories, and I think the more personal you can get, the more stuff you can get out there.
I think there's types of athletes that realize that. Like there are athletes that realize, like Tia is the perfect example of someone who gave like full access to like some really shit moments, and then had that amazing story arc. And it just like, and I remember like Heber and Marison talking about it before, saying like they said to her, and they had a similar moment with Laura Hobart, where they were like, like these are the moments that endear you to fans. Like these are the things that in 5 years time, this is why people will love you in 5 years time. And like, I think there's certain types of athletes who just never get that. Then it never clicks them, or they just don't want to do that. And then there's other types that are like, oh yeah, like I guess cross is probably a unique sport in that way as well, because at its foundation level, it's all community based. And like, it's very hard to make it to the top level of CrossFit without being at that level at some point where you understand the importance of community or whatever.
Right.
Whereas you could be a soccer player and go straight into an academy and be like insulated from everything, and then go straight into a team and be insulated from everything. Whereas you can't really skip those stages with CrossFit. So I think a lot of the athletes keep that with them as they go up, and they know the importance of the story, I guess.
I think people also have to realize that it's still a really, really small sport. And yeah, sure, Fraser made a lot of money, Froning maybe, and Tia, but if you look at the, like I said, my cousin is the goalkeeper for Denmark. I would not in any sense put him in top 300, 500 in the world of soccer players.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he makes more than Fraser. So, it's still a small sport. It's still, it's not a professional sport yet. It's we're just not there, but it could be, but it needs a TV deal. It needs a lot of things to change for it to grow as a bigger sport. But I think then by that time, hopefully it will never change. I felt this year was really good, but with more money, people, but I like the way Vellner is about it. Like he's not gonna do worse on an event because he lets me be there with my camera. But sometimes, like right before an event, they're not going to talk to me, so they're probably going to talk to the coach. But they know that I respect them, so I just stand close there with my camera, capturing their conversation with their coach. And I know as soon as they get off the field, we can talk. But like you said with Instagram, they need us just as much as we need them. There's a trade-off, right? And they know that if you don't do the interview, you're not going to get any airtime. If you don't get any airtime, it's going to be harder for you to grow a following, and that's just it's the name of the game. But it's still a game where you can choose two ways. You can just be a very calculated and know where you're going, or you can be respectful about it. And there's no point not being respectful to the athletes, because what they go through a weekend like that is super emotional, and you really feel it. But yeah, it was. It also gets emotional for me because I feed into their energy to kind of figure out where they are. Like I was done by Sunday. Like I had nothing left. And and I've never seen so many athletes cry in the post interviews. We did like, I think 14 interviews on Monday. I didn't do all of them, but Mariah did.
Is that normal? Do they usually not like meet them later or something?
Well, they try to, but they try to do all of them the day after. But they had to skip a few. They had to skip. Medeiros had to leave, and one more had to leave. So they're gonna go shoot with them up in, can't remember where he is.
Fort Vancouver or whatever.
Yeah, somewhere in the States. But
And
yeah,
did you?
it was a really emotional year for a lot of people. Like you say, well, Tia just won. Yeah, but Tia also lost her best friend. She didn't die, but Brooke was out of the competition, and there was all that. There's all these storylines intertwined where a lot of big moments that people may not have seen. And yeah, it was an exciting week, and I'm happy we got to tell that story.
And do you like when you guys are setting up to do the documentary, like, do you film absolutely everything that you possibly can?
Yeah.
And then worry about it later on? Or do you have, like, say, does Mariah have a story in her head, say on day 2, where she's like, okay, this seems to be developing into a bit of a story, we need to follow this, and like, don't worry about that too much because that's not going to develop into anything?
So I also shot for Hamilton, who also doing the episode. So I kind of had a double duty, which was rough, but it was good. No, so me and Mariah talked, I think 3 times before the games, and discussed. She had her input, and I came back with some feedback, what I felt like would be the storylines, without going into any athlete names. I felt like, well, I think you're overestimating that guy, but let's see. And then every day we would have dinner together and kind of see, well, it's not going in the direction we thought with this person, and the story is just kind of fading, and then you let them go. And that's weird. That must be weird from an athlete's perspective, like me hanging out with Janikowski so much in day 1 and 2, and then kind of, well, sorry, dude, you're not going to podium. I'll see you at the after party. And it's cutthroat, and it's the way it is. Jason Hopper, pretty early on, we knew that he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna have this insane breakout year that people thought. He still did great. It's the CrossFit Games, but he's not gonna be in contention for the podium or be the next Matt Fraser. So you kind of have to think on your feet and be ready to segue off. You got Scott Painchek, who's maybe the fittest guy in the field. Who knows? And then he has a major injury. But it's like, how do we tell this story? Because there's a story there, and we need to follow it, but also kind of let him go in terms of the competition. But we still have to include everything. But I'm behind the scenes, so I press record whenever anything happens. So yeah, I just shoot all of it, and then there's a guy going through all the footage right now in Santa Cruz, and I'm glad I'm not him.
And do you ever like leave, say, the cool down area having recorded, like maybe banal stuff, like not much happening, but you got something and whatever, and then hear of something incredible happening like 12 feet away, where you're like, oh fuck, why did I hang around in that corner?
Well, so the way we do it is Mariah hung out with all the female athletes, and I was with all the male athletes. So it was kind of easy enough because Brent and Velna would always hang out, and they talk a lot. And then Justin doesn't talk a lot. He talks a lot when Velna talks to him. So you just kind of got to position yourself in the right situations to make sure it happens, and you have to be quick and ready. After Annie podiumed, Frederick ran onto the field of play, which you're normally not allowed to, but I kind of saw at the corner of my eye, oh, he's getting permission, and I just ran after them. So you always have to be ready to, see what happens, and then, but you will miss moments. There'll always be stuff that happens, but then you edit the story, so you never tell. That's the beauty of editing. you make sure it looks like you've done everything right, but no, you can't go through a week of filming without dropping a few balls. Not possible.
And you've been involved in, you mentioned a good few years of exposure to different different stages of the season, I suppose. How did you mentioned that this year the camaraderie was there with the media staff, and that maybe hasn't been seen before, and the athletes were more emotional than they have been before. How did it compare as, say, a whole experience for you working there this year compared to other years of games or regionals? Was there a different feel to it? Do you think that's because of COVID and stuff and like a bit of a release, or do you think it's just the new era starting, I guess?
I think everyone has had a rough couple of years, whether you be in CrossFit or you're a non-CrossFit person. If you're living on this planet, the past 2 years, it might have been rough. And like I said earlier, we're nowhere near done with anything COVID related, but it was a kind of like a full circle. I was obviously the only European media that was allowed to go to the States, which I was super privileged to get to do. But it just felt like everyone was feeling the same thing. We're finally back to live competitions. We're back here at the games. Then it was a great games also, but there was just this respect and across everyone, like across the athletes, and yeah, like I said, the media team. I've never had a better experience working on a media team, because you like kind of divided into different groups, and the group I was shooting with was just yeah, I've never felt happier, and because when you work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, you get frustrated, you get tired, you like if you can't handle someone like being a little bit rough around the edges, you're gonna suffer, because it's not always pretty. But there was just this vibe and respect, and yeah, someone said like it was felt like summer camp, and seeing all your friends again. But yeah, the best summer camp of my life for sure.
About like 2 days after you came back, then you immediately started posting about another competition, so the Butchers Classic,
Yeah,
which I guess is kind of like I think I found out about it originally because there was a team in regionals in Europe in like 2018,
yeah.
Butchers Lab. So I kind of started following them after that, just because I liked the name. I thought it was a cool
And they
name. And
qualified
then
in 5th place that
yeah,
year. Yeah,
and
in
then
Berlin. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Butchers Classic then is, I assume, based out of the same,
It
or
is.
originated in the same gym, I guess.
So Butchers Classic started in 2012. The name Butchers Classic was invented by the old owners of Butchers Lab, and they had two gyms, Butchers Lab and Butchers Garage. And the idea of the old idea of Butchers Classic was there by the name was classic workouts. So they basically did workouts that we had seen at the CrossFit Games.
Okay.
After a couple of years, they kind of ran out and figured out they couldn't keep doing that. But it's always been like this pillar of competitions in Denmark, and people from all over Scandinavia has always showed up. We've always had a hard time getting Frederick Gideus to go, just because of like being in Iceland. He's a games athlete, but I want to say 3 years ago, all of a sudden they made it a partner competition, and he's like, okay, I'm going to sign up. And he won it 3 years in a row. Didn't win it last year. But it's just grown bigger and bigger and bigger. And last year, no, 2 years ago, obviously, we didn't have it last year. So in 19,
Catherine and Annie did it that year together, didn't it? Yeah.
So in 19, I competed myself as a master. I teamed up with David Santa Cruz, who's like the second fittest in the world. That's kind of cheating. Now it's the fittest male in Denmark for the masters. But then, yeah, Frederick was there, but we brought it back to Ballerup Super Arena, where the old regionals was in Copenhagen. And then last minute, we asked Frederick, hey, does anyone want to participate? It's like, yeah. And she'd just been cut, and so at the games, and like, yeah, I'll bring Catherine. Okay, sucks for everyone else, but but it was amazing to see them, and they sweep the competition, won every event. I think they maybe took second in one event after Catherine got a penalty for running around the barbell after she was done. She was supposed to jump over. They got like 1 second penalty, which was enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big competition. They used to have it in the gym, in the old butcher's lab, and in the atmosphere there was, I'm going to be posting some videos about it soon. The atmosphere there was electric, but it's by far the biggest competition in Denmark. And this year it's gonna be bigger than ever. We're gonna have a full live stream. I'm gonna have my debut as a TV director, and I'm scared shitless, but that's good. It just means it matters to me. We're gonna have like a, Craig Ritchie's photographer, Yoshi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's coming, flying him in. We had, I was in charge of athlete reach out, and I had a bunch of athletes that wanted to come and had said yes. And then came the games, and people just got injured left and right at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
And I was just watching this whole thing fall apart. So I had
Khan and James Newbury are doing it, aren't they?
Well, let me get to that. So I had Mundweiler and Koski teamed up.
Mundweiler's injured.
Mundweiler's injured, and I'll call Koski and was like, hey, and also their girlfriends were going to team up. So Solveig and Emilia. Koski got COVID. So,
oh shit.
So he's not coming. And now there's Emilia, obviously. She also, I guess, I still don't know, but
close contact at the very least.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, sucks on that. And then we had the Russian team. So we actually got a visa for Roman Krennikov to finally compete. So we're going to fly him and Ilin, the guy who's at the games.
Yeah.
We're going to fly them in as a team. Now they changed the travel restrictions from Russia, so they can't come. We're still hoping. It could be like a last minute thing.
Yeah.
Because manager's there and we're ready. I had more teams. GoWad wanted to bring Medeiros, but after he won the games, he was like, nope, not going to happen.
Yeah.
So we just had a lot of Willie George, but he was injured because we got GoWad on as a main title.
Okay,
yeah. But we got a bunch of good names coming. There's going to be, at least from the European semifinals, we're going to have plus 20, 30 people from those. So it's going to have that regional feel, but it also going to have the local feel because we're going to have a Masters edition and an intermediate division going prior. So it's going to be one hell of a competition. And full live stream Saturday and Sunday. So
what date is it on?
Sorry?
What date?
So we have Friday. We're going to do Friday night. We're not going to live stream that. That's going to be in a different building. So it's just a bit too costly to do.
And is this the 20th or
27th?
27th, okay.
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday, 28 and 29. We're going to do like the main competition. Cool. And going to be.
And are you, so is the plan then to get to make it from this year on that it'll be one of the off-season events on people's calendar?
It is an off-season event. It is licensed by CrossFit.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So we have a CrossFit license, and well, I don't know what the plans are. I love it's a team competition, so teams of two. I really love that, but obviously they have ambition, and if they're able to get the nod and make it if we pull this off, we're going to be in the running to get it to be a semifinal, but that's some ways down the road, and let's see what happens. But yeah, like the Aussies. So Brian Friend texted me, hey, James Newbury and Con Porter are going to be in Europe. I'm like, okay, well, what's it to me?
Who gives a fuck?
Get them to a competition. I'm like, it's in 2 weeks. But we shot them a message, and James was like, yeah, sure, we'll come.
Yeah. In fairness,
okay,
you'll find fewer, more laid back nations than Australia. It's just like, okay.
Video of them partying at a pool or something.
Yeah, did you see Shane Orr's story yesterday? The two of them just lying on the ground of like, But I'd say most nights can end like that, to be fair.
But to be fair, they're still amazing athletes, and like once it's 3-1 go, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do. But we got Andre who did there. Hometown hero, obviously. We got the original CrossFitter from Butcher's Lab, Frederick Egidius, 3-time champion at the competition. He's going to be teaming up. He was going to team up with BKG, but BKG has some slight hip injury, not something major, just something he doesn't want to aggravate. We have to respect that. So he's teaming up with a young upcomer of Denmark, Lucas, who he was at the Last Chance qualifier, actually. Okay. So he actually beat Frederick in the semifinals. So they're going to be teaming up, and Jacqueline Dahlström is coming up from Mallorca. I think
program, yeah.
Christopher Horvath is teaming up with the fittest guy in Italy. So yeah, it's gonna be a stacked field and some fun events. I've just gone over the events and they look like a lot of fun.
And where, so if people, is it through the Butchers Lab website or through their YouTube or what, that people can watch?
It's going to be through the YouTube, but we're going to be posting heavily about it and get all the athletes to post about it. That's my main focus next week, is to hype the competition and make sure we sell as many tickets as possible to break even or close to.
Yeah, to be just below the line.
Yeah, well, the plan is basically we wanted to do something big this year, and that's why they brought me on in terms of doing the live stream, because I want to grow, I want to make it bigger. So in order to make something bigger, you got to invest, you got to believe in what you do. If I've always said this, if you don't believe in yourself and what you do, how the fuck are you going to expect other people to believe in you?
Yeah.
And I see that with a lot of people. Like I love to watch like Lions Den, something on TV.
Yeah.
And they always ask, are you full time? And like, no, I also have a job besides. Okay, so you don't believe in the project, but you want other people to believe in the project. And I think that's what we're doing this year. We believe in this project, and we believe it can grow as a competition, but still keep the community feel of the Danish community, which is super important to us. Butchers Lab being the biggest and the oldest CrossFit affiliate in Denmark. So yeah, it's an important competition for the Danish community, but there's no reason we can't make it a big international competition at the same time.
Yeah, it's exciting. Well, look, we'll finish up with a quick fire.
Yeah.
So assault bike or Echo? Oh,
assault bike. I hate the Echo bike. You can't get as much power on it.
You can't send it as hard.
No. Well, I prefer the biker. That's where I really shine. So
okay. Clean or snatch?
Do I have to go below parallel?
No, it's me asking, so no, you don't.
Probably power clean.
Favorite camera to work with?
Well, when I do video, I love my Red camera. It was, again, that was an investment. I bought an expensive camera the day I got fired from CrossFit because I believed in myself. And I believe if you put in the energy and believe in yourself, good things are gonna happen. And I wasn't wrong.
Athlete you'd most like to record with?
Like
say do like a little mini doc on or something.
Well, we're doing. I'm happy to tell any story this season about her pregnancy.
Yeah.
That's tough because I feel like I've done most of them this season. I'm gonna say I was the happiest I got to tell Andre Houde's story, and how he trains. His brother passed away in 2015.
Yeah.
His big brother, my brother, passed away on the same day, exact day the year before. So we were training partners. So we had a pretty close connection. So CrossFit allowing me to tell his story was definitely the most important part of the season, even though it might seem small to a lot of people.
Yeah. Row or ski? Concept bike.
Yeah, well, I'll prefer the ski, but I prefer the row, but in real life, I like to ski.
What one name title would you give the 2021 doc if you were picking?
I'm kind of annoyed that we took the 1 miles to Madison, but that's for the episodic one. I really like that one.
That's an amazing concept for anyone that hasn't seen it. I thought that was fantastic because it was it was like a new twist on the clock ticking down. Like I just thought it was, whoever came up with that, I thought that was genius.
Meantime, but it has to play on the fact that the world is like reunited again. I don't know. I'm gonna leave that headache with our awesome director Mariah Moore.
You just call it like Nico.
I'm not. It's not my movie. It's her movie. But if we do well, I'm probably going to be on the next one as well.
Who's going to be the standout performers at Butchers Classic then?
You mean like
Like who will win? So what two pairs will win?
I think it's hard because I know the programming.
Someone will just cancel going now when they hear your answer.
Yeah, I think because
that.
it's a team competition. A team competition generally means that it's more interval style, and you can kind of like rest and let the other person work. Andre Houdet is, in my mind, the best athlete showing up, and he's teamed up with Julian Maskovic, who's this big motherfucker from. He was on the team this year. He was on the team in 18, and if he doesn't have to breathe heavy for a long time, he's a good one. I was gonna say Frederick and BKT, and this is not a knock on Lucas, who he's now teaming up with, but Lucas is not BKT. I'm gonna. It's hard because there's two of my good friends, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be a Danish winner, and the Aussies are gonna squeeze in on the podium somehow. On the women's side, I'm yet to see the full list, but I'm gonna be rooting for my my good friend Julie Hogard and Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Well, listen, thanks again for coming on. I really enjoyed talking to you. And yeah, I think one thing after the games was like immediately afterwards, I was just chomping at the bit for more like live events, for more stuff to watch. So I think perfect timing for Butcher's Classic. And I think everyone's looking forward already to whatever content is coming out from CrossFit and from people like you as well. So
yeah, a lot of people ask me this, by the way, how many why I'm not posting any of the content, and I can just say that I don't have it, any of the stuff. I don't own it, so I'm not allowed to post it. Like every time you shot something, you gave it to someone and they own it. So that's why I've only been posting video, because I don't have any footage from the CrossFit Games. Like I have none of it.
Yeah, well, we'll all wait to see.
Yeah.
Whatever won the title.
Without a shadow of doubt in my mind, I just want to say this is really important to me. This is going to be the best documentary ever made. That's not a knock on anyone before. It's just the way Mariah approaches things and her empathy, and having a female director. She was also directing Redeem and Dominant and the movies before that. People tend to forget that. And she needs that recognition. Her way of connecting with the athletes and her empathy and it being told from a women's standpoint is, to me, super important. And I couldn't be more excited to see more, because growing up in CrossFit, like I see all these strong women, but also seeing that I've known Mariah since she was like a personal PA, like a production assistant, and then to ending up being like top tier in the media team is couldn't be happier, and I'm beyond excited for that. Also, there will be the last documentary, the 2018 documentary. It's coming, and it's far along. I've seen it. It's absolutely amazing. And once people see that, they'll know her vision and why she's such a great director. And I don't know the release date, but I'm guessing mid-end September.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've seen it. It's done. Like
fuck, I thought you were going to say like January or something. September's amazing. That's so close.
It's ready. But there's always this process of distribution. So like there could be hiccups in the distribution, and can it go on Netflix and go on iTunes, and however long that takes, that can trip it up. But
it was brilliant.
That's going to be a good one. And that was the last year of CrossFit, and I'm super happy that that's coming back.
Yeah, that's brilliant. We look forward to that.
Yeah.